Hey, Mrs. Sims here. I want to share a book with you that I know you have heard some version of in the past. There will be some books that I'll be sharing at other times that are local fiction by local writers. But today I want to share one that I know you've heard, at least one of the versions. The book is Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and this version is by James Marshall. Once there was a little girl called Goldilocks. "What a sweet child," said someone new in town. "That's what you think," said a neighbor. One morning, Goldilocks' mother sent her to buy muffins in the next village. "You must promise not to take the shortcut through the forest," she said. "I've heard that bears live there." "I promise," said Goldilocks. But to tell the truth, Goldilocks was one of those naughty little girls who do exactly as they please. You'll see some words written on the tree here, like the word risky. If something is risky, it means that there's a chance something might go wrong if you make that choice. Meanwhile, in a clearing deep inside the forest, in a charming house all their own, a family of brown bears was sitting down to breakfast. You see them inside their home, ready for their breakfast. This book was awarded the Caldecott Honor Medal. And you'll find with a lot of these type stories that there are several versions of those. They may have a little bit of a different outcome. Some may be a little more gentle in their approach than others. "Patooey," cried big old Papa Bear. "This porridge is scalding. I've burned my tongue." "I'm dying," cried Baby Bear. "Now really," said Mama Bear, who was of medium size, "that's quite enough." "I know," said Papa Bear. "Why don't we go for a spin while the porridge is cooling?" "Excellent," said Mama Bear. So they got on their rusty old bicycle and off they went. So who's left at the house right now? You're right. A few minutes later, Goldilocks arrived at the bear's house. She walked right in without even bothering to knock. On the dining room table were 3 inviting bowls of porridge. "I don't mind if I do," said Goldilocks, helping herself to the biggest bowl. Do you think Goldilocks would have been the kind of girl who would share her things? Do you think if you needed to borrow a pencil from somebody in your class, that she would be somebody who you could rely on to do that? Or do you think she would just be somebody who's thinking about her own self and her own life? But the porridge in the biggest bowl was much too hot. "Patooey!" cried Goldilocks, and she spat it out. Next, she tasted the porridge in the medium-sized bowl. But that porridge was much too cold. Then Goldilocks tasted the porridge in the little bowl, but it was just right, neither hot nor too cold. In fact, she liked it so much that she gobbled it all up. Was this her porridge? Was this her house? Feeling full and satisfied, Goldilocks thought it would be great fun to have a look around. Right away she noticed a lot of coarse brown fur everywhere. Is that dog hair? What kind of hair would that be? They must have kitties, she said. In the parlor, there were 3 chairs. I don't mind if I do, she said, climbing into the biggest one, but the biggest chair was much too hard, and she just couldn't get comfortable. We see her here, about to stand on her head in that big chair. Next, she sat in the medium-sized chair, but that chair was much too soft, and she thought she might never get out of it. Then Goldilocks sat in the little chair, and that was just right, neither too hard nor too soft. In fact, she liked it so much that she rocked and rocked until the chair fell completely to pieces. Some chairs aren't made to be rocked in. What is on this girl's mind? Now all that rocking left Goldilocks quite tuckered out. I could take a little snooze, she said. So she went to look for a comfy place to nap. Upstairs were 3 beds. I don't mind if I do, said Goldilocks, and she got into the biggest one. But the head of the biggest bed was much too high. Next, she tried the medium-sized bed, but the head of that bed was much too low. Then Goldilocks tried the little bed, and it was just right. Soon she was all nice and cozy and sound asleep. She did not hear the bears come home. The 3 bears were mighty hungry. But when they went in for breakfast, they could scarcely believe their eyes. "Somebody has been in my porridge," said Papa Bear. "Somebody's been in my porridge," said Mama Bear. "Somebody has been in my porridge," said Baby Bear, "and eaten it all up." In the parlor, the 3 bears were in for another little surprise. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," said Papa Bear. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," said Mama Bear. "Somebody's been sitting in my chair," said Baby Bear, "and broken it to smithereens." Broken it to pieces. The 3 bears went upstairs on tiptoe, not knowing what they would discover. At first, everything seemed fine, but then Papa Bear lay down on his big brass bed. "Somebody has been lying in my bed," he cried, and he was not amused. Egads, cried Mama Bear. Somebody's been lying in my bed. Look, cried Baby Bear. Somebody's been lying in my bed, and she's still there. Now see here, roared Papa Bear. Goldilocks woke up with a start, and her eyes nearly popped out of her head. But before the bears could demand a proper explanation, Goldilocks was out of bed, out the window, and on her way home. Who was that girl? Asked Baby Bear. I have no idea, said Mama Bear, but I hope we never see her again. And they never did. Okay, I'd like you for this story. It is a very familiar one to you. I want you to write me a paragraph. If you are in grades 3, 4, 5, and 6, I want one very quick paragraph telling me the character qualities that you see in Goldilocks. Tell me about her. And I want you to write it from a personal perspective. If you can say, I think Goldilocks would make a good friend, and here's why. Or you might say Goldilocks showed selfishness by doing whatever. She showed good character by doing something else. But I want to have some kind of feedback about what you learned about Goldilocks from this story. If you are in kindergarten, 1st or 2nd grade, I'd like you to tell the adult who's watching this with you some of the things that you learned about Goldilocks and kind of how she was as a person. Maybe what kind of daughter you think she would have been, what kind of sister, what kind of friend. And then for the final item for this day's lesson, if you would like to write for me a creative story that involves bears in some way, you may choose to do that. I'd like you just to do some writing for me, a story that you can think up. Again, if you're in kindergarten and you want to just think about a story and in which you use bears as main characters, then you are free to do that and then to just tell it to the adult who's sitting with you. Or for 2nd grade, you may also, 1st and 2nd grade, go ahead and tell someone the story that you're coming up with just in thinking. For 3rd grade through 6th grade, if you can write that story for me. How long am I looking for there? For 3rd grade, I would like to see one paragraph. And then for 4th grade, I would like to see several paragraphs. And I'd like to see at least 3 paragraphs for grade 4, 3 paragraphs for grade 5, and 3 paragraphs for grade 6. I'm trying to give you a certain amount of work that by the time you look at these different videos, it will equal a certain amount of work. Today is one of the easier days with this. Have a great day. Bye.